Imagine 12 years between swimming at your first Olympic Games and returning for a second time. The countless hours spent in the pool, at the gym, with your coaches and teammates, refining your technique, your endurance, and testing your resilience. That is Dorothea Brandt, the two-time German Olympic swimmer who was a 14-time medalist at the European Short Course Swimming Championships. She placed 16th in the world at the Athens Olympics in 2004 and 14th in the world at the 2016 Rio Olympics. But to reduce her or any athlete to their accomplishments is not only unfair to her as a human being, it also completely overlooks the countless conditions and sometimes random events that impact competitive outcomes in one person's life. Join me in this heart-to-heart conversation with Doro, which I hope will give you a new perspective on what it's like to be a professional athlete and might help you better understand what your daughter or son is currently experiencing.
This is one of the stories people are always eager to hear.
For the rest of us mortal humans, is not something that we're ever gonna get near to.
I think what I mostly enjoyed was that I found a place where I was accepted and a field where I was very good. After a year, the swimming coach left, and I was like, okay, so what's the alternative?
Life, has its own plans sometimes, no matter how much we try to make things go otherwise.
On the one side, I'm very proud of what I did in Rio. And on the other side, I'm a bit sad because I'm totally convinced that it would have been different.
Thank you for sharing that, and I hope that's going to resonate with a lot of people. Hi, my name is Eric Vautrin, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to my YouTube channel and podcasts. Here, my mission is simple: to have thought-provoking conversations with remarkable guests. Together, we'll challenge assumptions, broaden our perspective, and ultimately, my hope is that we will all be called to think with more openness, compassion, and clarity. Your support means the world to me, so please do click on that subscribe button. That way, you'll help me bring even more fantastic guests to my show. I hope you enjoy my next guest. Dorothea Brandt, welcome to Think.
Thank you for having me, Eric. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? You sound and you said that you have a little cold today.
Yeah, but it's okay. So a bit. So my nose is a bit full, but everything else is okay. So had throat yesterday, but that's gone today. So I think it's getting better and better. And at the end of the week, I'm back again.
Well, wishing you a speedy recovery. The weather here in Germany in Dusseldorf has been very prone to colds, from rainy cold to sunny 20 some degrees. So, let's hope that things are getting warmer here and the cold season is over also for us with our kids. Really happy to have you here. You were a swimmer that specialized in sprint freestyle, and breaststroke. You're a multiple time German champion, a 14-time medalist at the European Short Course Swimming Championships, and a semifinalist in the 50-meter freestyle at the 2004 Summer Olympics in Athens. And if my research is correct, you hold two national records, one in the 4-time 50-meter freestyle short course and the 50-meter breaststroke long course. You placed 16th in the world at the Athens Olympics in 2004 and 14th in the world at the 2016 Rio Olympics. Since retiring, big word, but since retiring from professional sports, you've transitioned into the corporate world and you're currently doing your MBA. But before I ask you about life after professional sports, I wanted to ask you, what are your earliest memories of swimming?
My earliest of swimming. So I think when I learned swimming. So I grew up in a small town in northern Germany, in Lower Saxony, close to Hamburg, just close 1 hour by train or by car. And so 10,000 people living there. and we have the small pool, 4 lanes, 25 meters, 28 degrees. Sounds pretty normal, yeah, but 28 degrees is very warm. So what I experienced in the years after my first swimming class, because when I learned swimming, it was very cold, very very cold, and that was the reason why I hated going to swim lessons. Of course, my mother or my father, they brought me there. I had my school friends, or my kindergarten friends. I was 5 years old, and most of the time I was more demotivated to learn anything because it was freezing cold, and I was standing around, and my friends, they tried to motivate me. Hey, just swim some lanes. You'll get warmer, and it will get better. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So that's my earliest, yeah, the earliest thing I can remember. But as we both know, Eric, this can be a bit wrong. I don't know if this is too hard. But yeah, this is what I remember.
I mean, I hope that's going to be something that all parents and also people who are starting to practice something in their lives are going to really internalize, that someone who eventually, right, went twice to the Olympics, has all these records. It was not love at first sight with swimming. It was cold. You didn't want to go. Your friends needed to
Yeah,
motivate you. Um,
and
yeah, we often hear the perfect story, or the, oh, I felt the second I got in, it was like I was like a fish in water, or I knew it from the moment, or the parents, right? But it's great to hear just an actual story, which is like, I didn't like it. It was
yeah,
freezing cold, and my friends had to motivate me. Did it, I mean, cliche, change at one point specifically in time where you developed sort of more of an interest for it? Or was it a gradual thing? And as you practiced, got better, gotten certain results and started
yeah.
competition, then you developed, yeah, how did that grow for you?
So after I learned swimming, so in Germany we have in school we have sports, and of course we have swimming, or not of course, we have swimming lessons. I had swimming lessons in, I think, the second and the fourth grade, and we have these badges. So I had it was called Penguin, the first one, that you can swim 1 lane on your own. And then you have bronze, you have to do a bit more silver, and then gold. And that was the only contact or point of contact I had with swimming. I swam in the club, in my hometown club, for I think half a year or so in third grade. But after half a year, I said, no, I don't want to do that any longer, and quit again. And I had my kind of comeback when I was in grade seven, because we have this. We have in Germany we have an event called Jugendtrainiert für Olympia. So it's translated, children or young people are training for the Olympic Games. That's the title, and you have so it's like, yeah, you start at the bottom. You have to swim a team event, not a single person or individual event. So that means that we have to be you need a strong team, and you start at the bottom in your area. Then you go to the state, and then you go to the German level. And my sport, or one of our sports teachers, he elected me for the swimming team, and I said, never ever swimming in a competition, never. And he said, yeah, just do 2 lanes of breaststroke, and that's it. I said, okay, I can do that maybe. It was pretty fast. I don't know how I managed that, and I enjoyed it. And the other girls in my team, they were in the swimming club, which I left a few years before. And then they said, yeah, you could just come and join a few training sessions, and maybe you get used to it. Maybe you will enjoy it. Let's just give it a chance. And at that time, I was in my I would say horse girl area or era. I was riding and doing this kind of gymnastics on a horse. I don't know the exact English name, and that was my total my focus. And within a year, it completely changed. My focus switched to swimming. So yeah, it became to answer your question. It became competitive to me when I turned 14, I would say. So I started swimming with the real swimming when I was 13, and then after a year, I first acknowledged that this can be very good. This can be a thing for you, and maybe this will be something you can do pretty well. Yeah.
Wow, and entering competition, or I mean 14 is I mean, as you say, you got there, you liked the swimming then, yeah, because you saw that already you seem to have some skills, even though you took a break. But I won't consider like third, fourth grade to seventh grade a break. Maybe we can just consider it childhood. And you didn't swim for a few years, and then you came back, and or you tried it again, and you're like, wow, actually I like this, and I seem to be pretty good at it. Did you like the competitive aspect of it? And did you have any idea of what you were getting into? Because I'm curious, obviously, to know how your teenage years were after that, what high school was like for you. Um, yeah, did you like the competitive aspect of it? And how did that then develop into the years that you went through high school and had to really focus on swimming and school at the same time?
Yeah. Um, I wouldn't say that I only enjoyed. So I also enjoyed the competitive aspect, of course. But I think what I mostly enjoyed was that I found a place where I was accepted, and um, a field where I was very good at, and where I just felt comfortable doing it, and in the environment, and yeah, I enjoyed the movements, and that was it. Um, and that was a complete difference to my school experience. And because when I entered the pool, um, it was different. I was in that world, and I liked the people. The people had the same mindset as I had, and um, I felt that they understand me. And when I was in the water, I was on my own, so I had to kind of sort out my thoughts, and I couldn't discuss. Nobody could discuss with me. And at school, it was I was always so my father was a teacher at the same school I visited, so that was pretty hard sometimes. And then I was always the tall girl, thin. So I was already, I think, 175 or so. Um, when I was 13, 14, maybe a bit smaller. But I weighed very less, so I was very thin. And of course, when puberty kicked in at the other girls, and then at me, my breasts were not that growing as fast as and the other girls, and they were very proud of it. And I was like, yeah, I have no arm and no leg, and of course I have no breasts. So, and then they tend to bully me for that, especially the boys. And that was why I hated it sometimes to go to school, because yeah, there was not. It's not the best place for a girl in a puberty, or even for boys who and children can be mean, as we all know. And so yeah, and swimming was the complete opposite of that. And I had these 4 hours per week where I pretty much enjoyed myself and just being who I was and being accepted. And additionally, I was successful. Yeah, that was why I started loving it at a very early stage, I guess.
Thanks so much for sharing. I hope that a lot of parents also listening uh, will encourage their kids, daughters and sons, to listen to our conversation. High school is difficult, and as you said, kids can be really mean. Fitting in, identity in those years, bullying. Um, and actually, what I'm hearing you say is that, yeah, I mean, we have no control over how our body develops, right? Like how its shape, its height, its dimensions. A lot of it is obviously genetic, maybe a little bit is nutrition, but not as much as I think the world of health and nutrition wants to make us believe. That's something we have no control over. And then we're in an environment where society largely tries to tell us what a nice body is supposed to be. And it sometimes changes right across centuries, but now with social media, clearly, and kids today, clearly, there's a big message out there as to what an attractive man or an attractive woman is and what they're supposed to look like. And for you to, I mean, you just had your body. That's all you had. And you wanted to just live with it and be okay with it, and everyone else around you to just be okay with the way that you were. And what I'm hearing is that the swimming pool, I imagine the group of girls that you were with, the environment that you were in, and being able to go into the water and also just leave all that behind for a number of hours and just be focused on one single thing, which is what can I do with this body, right? And what can I do with my mind, and how can I develop what it is, yeah, that I seem to be good at. Must have felt like an escape. Just a hypothesis, obviously,
Yeah, it was
and a place,
totally.
as you said, where you could just be,
Yeah,
yeah, be yourself. I think sports, for teenagers in that sense, and for young people, is often just a great area, not only for physical movement but for finding like-minded people. um, I mean, I'm sure within swim teams too there's all kinds of dynamics, just like in any
cool.
group. Yeah,
Like in teams.
yeah, not to idealize it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
like in a business, like anywhere, it doesn't really matter. But still, yeah, the ability to step out of the intensity of high school into an environment where you could
yeah,
learn about yourself, your own capabilities,
yeah.
develop, and feel like you were safe to a certain extent must have been really, really powerful. Thank
Mm.
you for sharing that. And I hope that's going to resonate with a lot of people and
Yeah,
parents and maybe teenagers.
yeah. I think the most or one of the most differences is because you mentioned that being in a team, I chose that team in a way, and going to high school, you do not change. Do not choose really choose the team. You do not have a decision going to that school, going to that class. And you choose the people around you as friends, and that's not totally bad because you have the same. You come from the same city, or you have maybe same kindergarten friends or so. But in a club, it's different because it's more that you have the same. Yeah, you like the same thing. You have the same fire within you or inside of you for something, and you wanna you decided to be actively to be on that team. Yeah, and as we grow, it's we always, or I think we tend to find more homogeneous groups. So especially, so you have school, you have clubs. We discussed that in the last 2 minutes. And then when you choose your university and what you would like to study, it gets more and more specialized, and the people around you are even more aligned with your mindset and interest. And yeah, even in a master's degree, it's better and more intense than in a bachelor's degree. And then we have the corporate world, where you have the team and everyone is nearly doing the same in your team.
Oh, definitely. We're gonna get to the corporate world because, as you know, I think we idealize the sports world. We use it a lot in the corporate world. This, this the analogies or the metaphor of being like a sports team or an athlete. So I definitely want to pick your brain about both of those experiences, being a professional athlete and seeing how we think about it in the corporate world. Before we get to that, was there a point where it became like really serious in the sense that, okay, yeah, you were competitive, you were, I guess, starting to get good results? Is there a point where either your coach, your team, yourself is like, okay, there is the possibility to think about potentially reaching nationals and Olympic games, and there's a switch in, I don't know, the amount of training, effort, the focus, or was it just sort of a natural progression as you were getting better and you were winning, let's say, more competitions? Then naturally, yeah, you were practicing more and the focus became, how far can I go?
Mm. It was, I think I was at a point when I would turn 16 where I had to make my first decision. How far do I want to go? Because my first coach, he said to my parents, if Doro wants to do that seriously, she needs to move. She cannot stay here in the city, in this club. She cannot work with me. She needs another coach. She needs someone who's more experienced and who can identify her strengths and weaknesses much better than I can do that. And then he organized a camp in Hamburg at a very, which was organized by a very successful coach. He had this world champions and Olympic medal winners and great team, very special team, very new kind of team because he was focused on sprinting, 50 and 100. And I visited him for 2 weeks and was in this camp. And at the end of the camp, he said, "Yeah, well, great job. If you'd like to work with me, that would be totally new for me because I've never worked with young people like you. I always worked with grown-ups and experienced swimmers, so we need to figure out how to deal with that." And then I moved to Hamburg, and I think it took 1 more year or less until he completely figured out how to organize himself and the team. And then he kind of founded a second team. And there was the time when it became very serious. So I trained twice a day. I had weight trainings. I was in the gym, not only in the pool. And I totally focused, or myself, I focused on swimming. Yes, I went to school and I met friends, but my focus was on swimming. And my goal was to go to the Olympics. And you have no guarantee for that, of course. And looking back to where I come from, and we talked about that. I told you where I come from, and what I experienced and what I did in the throughout my whole career in the pool. It was like it was never ever to be expected like that. And I'm from today's perspective, I think I can be very proud of that because I made, I think I reached nearly the maximum of my potential. And that's a great experience, life experience, I would say.
Nearly, huh? Like there's still still, like, I mean, 14th in the world, 16th, 14th in the world, which for the rest of us mortal humans, yeah, is not something that we're ever gonna get near to, and we don't actually realize how many people competed in how many countries and swimming pools in their clubs over and over again, right, to make it to even a national level, and then to the Olympics, and then to finish 16th and 14th. And you said almost. So is there still a little part in you which is like, different conditions, different day, this and that, I could have maybe done 10th,
Yeah.
5th?
Mm, yeah, yeah. There are some points in my career where I think, okay, that would have been different. If, but so it's in the past. I cannot change it. But sometimes you have to rely on decisions other people make for you, and you have to trust them. And maybe they are not the best decisions, even if they think it's the best decision, not only for them but also for you. And I had some of these people in my life throughout my career, and so it was not. So of course I learned that I have to stand for myself in these after these situations, but they happened, and they had an influence on my career, of course, or people who gave me, who promised me to work with me, for example, and after a year they said, "So yeah, my focus changed. I have to leave." And well, okay, that's not what I planned for the next 4 years. This happened for my before, yeah, before Rio. So when I moved in 2012 to Essen from Berlin to Essen, and yeah, I had this coach, and I had, so from a mindset perspective, I had the perfect year from 2012 to 2013, and it was because I had two coaches, one for swimming and one for the weight training, and it was like I've never experienced such a strong team feeling with coaches, and it felt like they understand me without telling them. And so it was, as I said, it was one of my best years. And yeah, after a year, the swimming coach left, and I was like, okay, so what's the alternative? And I am pretty sure that the following 3 years would have been different if he or if we work together. Yeah, I think, yeah, let's say it like this.
Uh,
But it's okay.
I
At
think
the end of the
sometimes.
day, he also had to figure out what's the best for him, for himself, and
Mm.
his career. So everything is okay. Yeah.
I think sometimes we, especially with athletes, from an external perspective, obviously we kind of overestimate the mindset thing being like the thing. There's so many conditions that come together, right, for an athlete to develop, to train, to reach, new
Yeah.
heights, to recover properly. To, I mean, you as a normal person, you went through, I'm sure, ups and downs, and periods where you had a lot of energy and motivation, and other periods where things were more difficult, just like everyone. So I think we often overestimate this idea that it's all a mindset thing, and there's so many factors that have to come together, and a bunch of those you can't control. Yeah, no one can control. So this coach or someone else, maybe, I don't know, the obviously the details, but maybe something happens with someone's family, something changes, they have to make a decision which is best for themselves, and that changes your whole plan, the whole dynamic.
Mm,
The next person that you get maybe fits, doesn't fit, they have a different approach. So I think it's important also to remember, again, that when we're working with young people and we're helping them to develop in their sports, right? That it's not only a mindset thing,
Yeah.
and that there are many other elements that come together, and to keep that in mind, and maybe to be more open and flexible as parents, and maybe also as the supporting, because I know there's a lot of support around athletes from families and friends as they become more successful and more professional, and it's not just a mindset thing. You did make it twice to the
Yeah.
Olympics. Um, what was that like for you? First time in 2004. What was that
Yeah.
like? How did you feel? How did you experience it? What do you remember, and what do you take from it?
First time in 2004 was very unexpected. Um, I moved a year before the qualifications. I moved to Berlin, and I started working with a different coach, and that was not yeah, it's pretty difficult, um, moving or changing coaches 1 year before Olympics or before such a important competition. Normally, you do that 2 or 4 years before, and it was very. I was everyone was surprised. So even I was surprised. So and it was like so. Yes. So the first of my dreams just came true. I qualified for the Olympics in Athens, and it was so the only person who there were only two persons who I had a connection to in next to the poolside. It was the best friend of my father because he lives in Berlin, and he when he stepped out of his office and looking at his at the time, and he was like, "Oh, there's a German championships in close by." So and Doro is competing, so I just give it a try. I just go there, and my boyfriend at that time, and that was so funny because yeah, nobody expected that. So and coming second in that race, yeah, made me earn the spot. And then it was Athens was amazing. Athens was overwhelming, and I was completely yeah kind of stressed, and I tried to manage as best as possible. And it was a cool experience. It was not. I would say that is my Olympic experience. I'm very happy that I experienced that 12 years later in Rio. And the second qualification was more like yeah. So now I know that the last 4 years make sense, kind of, because as I said before, I moved to Essen in 2012 after missing the Olympic team, and that would have been the worst case for me if I would not have made it to the Olympics in Rio. It was like, yeah, I made it. And Rio was amazing for me because my father was there, my sister, my boyfriend, and yeah, that I would say that's more that kind of Olympic experience. I I'd like, well, I wish other athletes who are going to the Olympics.
12 years of hard work and commitment between the first time and the second time. That's commitment. That's focus. 12 years, right? Is must have been a lot of ups and downs, and potentially some moments of, "Ooh, do I continue this?" Like, I don't know. It's been 8 years, right? And as you said, maybe the first one was unexpected, but once you taste something, you get an
Yeah,
experience of it. You see what it is, and you know that, yeah, you can get there.
yeah,
Um, I think hats off, as we say, first and foremost, for committing and continuing for those 12 years to make it again. Are you happy with how it went in Rio? Did you feel content with this second experience? I guess you knew by that time that it was going to be your last time. I would imagine you had you already decided beforehand, okay, I'm not going to invest another 4 years or 6 years to try and make it again, or did you decide afterwards? And did you feel content with your experience in Rio?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't think about if this is my last Olympics. I was thinking until the day of the final of the 50-meter freestyle, and that was everything. And yeah, am I okay with Rio? Yes and no, because under the circumstances, I travel there, and under the circumstances I raced. It was pretty good overall. Yeah, I could have been better. It could have been much better. Um, Circumstances. So maybe so. This is one of the stories people are always eager to hear. To be honest, um, 1 week before I left for the training camp in Florianopolis, my baggage was stolen on the train back from Berlin to Düsseldorf. So when I went on the train to Düsseldorf, I put my bag behind me. I was reading and messaging and all the stuff, listening to music. It was a 4 hour ride or 5 hour ride. And when I stepped out, my bag was gone. I was, well, no. There was only the other small other bag. And I was like, okay, so maybe someone moved it. I looked around, nothing.
Hmm.
I asked the employees, the Deutsche Bahn employees, no, we haven't seen that. I said, and I had a competition in Berlin the weekend before, which means everything, everything of my own individual personalized material was inside that bag. It was my racing suits, my caps, my goggles, my paddles, my fins, my snorkel. Um, Even the bikinis I used in under the sun for training outside were used. I was used to them, and it was horrible. And I stepped out of the train, and my boyfriend saw me, and he asked, "What happened?" Looked like you saw a ghost. I said, kind of. I lost my bag. It was stolen. And then I started crying. And we went to the police, and yeah, they couldn't help, of course. And a second and third day after that incident, I returned to the train station. I asked if there is a bag which looks like mine. Nothing. And then I started recollecting all the things I needed for the training camp, for the preparation in Rio. And I asked my partners, my sponsors, my friends to support me. And Bild Zeitung, they heard about that. And I was on page one of Bild Zeitung. So not that many people can say, yeah, I was on the first page of this amazing, amazing newspaper. I was,
Yeah,
yeah,
for
I was
let's just say for those who are not German, they just need to know that there's a bit of sarcasm in your amazing newspaper reference to build. For any listener who's not German, it's more the fantastical Daily Mirror type UK, yeah, newspaper, just so that people know.
yeah,
So that then put a lot of spotlight, questions, pressure additionally on you, being front page news on the Bild
I was
Zeitung, I
the
imagine.
loser of the day. So they always have a winner of the day, and then they have a loser of the day, and I was the loser of the day because I lost my bag. But there is nothing bad, nothing. Yeah, it's not always bad, and there is something good too because I got some or a lot more attention, and people started supporting me. And then I had another news paper article where I told them how important this individual stuff and the material is. And
Hmm.
so I recollected everything. I could fly out to Brazil with all the stuff, and I had 3 good weeks. That was also okay. And then the night before, or not the night before, before that's the second part of the circumstances in Rio or regarding Rio directly. I entered the bus. So you have when you have all the venues, they are at different places in the city, and you have the Olympic Village. And there are buses, and these buses they bring the athletes to all the venues, and you have a schedule, and you can look it up, and then you go. And of course, like buses work, there is a number, and there is a place where they are going to or heading to. And then, so there was this young lady, and she said she was asked so from another swimmer by another swimmer, can we take this bus to the swimming pool? And she said, yes, you can. And nearly 30 swimmers went on that bus. Long story short, that bus did not go directly to the swimming pool. It went to Maracana, as we all know, the place of football and athletics. And it was, I think it was a 45 minutes ride. And we were texting, and it was my semi-final. And there were 4 or 5 other women on the bus who also had their 50 freestyle semi-final at that night. And we all trusted that woman. And then they did something which was very unusual for the Olympics. They moved our semi-final, or both semi-finals, back in the schedule. So normally it was in the middle of something, and then they had other races before, and normally that doesn't happen. And so I think it was like that. So this is what I remember. Maybe I'm wrong. We should look that up. And yeah, I was sitting on the bus and was like, okay, Doro, there's nothing to do for you. Just message with your sister, your boyfriend, your father. They were at the poolside and they were asking what happened. My coach was asking, and yeah, then I went through Instagram and I was looking outside, listening to some music. I was like, well, it's not my fault if anything happens. And if I do not compete tonight, yeah, that would hurt, but there is a reason, and I cannot change the moment. I have to sit on this bus. I have to wait until the bus turns at Maracana back to the Olympic Village and then to the swimming pool. And but just to mention that, people were discussing with the bus driver. They were showing accreditations and mobile phones and all the stuff, and he refused. And I think 4 or 5 people stepped out of the bus when we arrived in Maracana. So you see a lot of more swimmers on the bus. Yeah. And that was very difficult, but I think I managed both very good. The buzzword here, I would say, is resilience. I was very proud of myself. And the other thing is that I was diagnosed with a little fracture in my tendon in the shoulder.
Hmm.
And nearly 6 months later, after the Olympics, and this that was a lot harder for me to accept that because I had shoulder issues starting in April 2016. It started to hurt, and I didn't know where it came from because I never ever had any issues, problems, whatever with shoulders, hips, knees. Never ever. I was a very healthy athlete. I was never injured, and then I had to take painkillers for a week or so, and I swam the first stage of the qualification with a injured shoulder without knowing it. The second stage without knowing it. I swam the Olympics without knowing that there's something wrong because I had so right before the Olympics. I had days where I couldn't completely stretch my shoulder while I was swimming because it was so painful here. And when I was diagnosed with this fracture, I was like, okay, so that's enough. So you had the bag, you had the bus, and now you have, and then why? Why? You gave it your best, you did everything, and this is what happens. So, and this is why I can say yes. On the one side, I'm very proud of what I did in Rio, and on the other side, I'm a bit sad because I'm totally convinced that it would have been different without the fracture. Um, I would have been much faster, and then
That's
it would have been the final, not only the semi-final. Yeah,
to me that's very thought provoking because if we look when we look at athletes, if we watch sports, and we listen to commentators, for example, right, and then they would look at your swim just as an example on that day and say, "Oh, Doro's technique today was a little bit under the this and the that," and no context whatsoever, not knowing, right, the bus situation, the this, the time that was changed, not knowing that you had had a pain that was not diagnosed, right? They have a job which is to comment on the people that are doing these activities in some sort of professional, well-educated sounding manner. And I think you sometimes also do commentary for the Olympics, if I'm not mistaken, for
yeah,
one of
well,
the German news networks.
yes,
And we should never forget, and that's we should never forget in that sense that there is always a context behind each individual athlete, which we don't know about. Good stomach, bad stomach that day, ate something the night before, which
yeah,
they didn't know, yeah, would have an impact on yeah, their digestion or so on and so forth. And there's so many factors that have to come together, or that when they come together, and stuff that we don't even see, like just yeah, getting on, I don't want to say the right bus because the person told you, yes, I'm going there. But those little things that, if on the one hand, when everything works, it's like when you get on a flight and everything is perfect, you never have a story about it because you don't realize that you got through security on time, that your plane was repaired, that the pilot made it, that the crew made it, and you just got on and you took your flight and you arrived. And then when things don't go right, that's when you have a story about, well, this happened, that happened, this didn't work. So many things have to go right in a way which are standard transport, clothes, timing, judges, all these things, for then the athlete to potentially be at her best and have all the best conditions to then at least be able to say, well, everything came together the best that I could, the best that my environment could, and this is what I was able to do. And that's cool because, yeah, there could not have been a little bit more because those things, the conditions were there. And I think we very rarely think about all those things that need to come together. And thanks for sharing your story, which I can sort of picture you on scrolling on Instagram in the bus, being like, well, yeah, there's really nothing that I can do about this. So let me try and just be cool about it, let it go, and say, well, life, has its own plan sometimes, no matter how much we try to make things go otherwise.
enjoy the ride.
When you then said,
Listen,
okay, yeah, look
I know.
outside, enjoy the ride. Still lucky, we are alive. We get an extra day. There are it's not fun, but there are things which are much more serious than that. So, right, let's try and enjoy and be okay with the situation, which we can't change. It's not always easy, obviously, when you've put 12 years of training and refinement into getting to that point. So, good for you if indeed, as you say, or you were able to at least release part of that control and say, well, there's really nothing I can do about this, and make the most of it. And I mean, what, 14th in the world is still the most of it. It's right for the rest of us who will never have that experience. That's something that's really, really amazing for the for yourself, for I'm sure your family and everyone who supported you, and for your country who you were representing at the Olympics. When you then made that decision internally, okay, that's it, shoulder everything that's come together. These are signs for me that it's time for me to end my professional swimming career. What was that moment like? In a sense, did you? And I know people won't know that you and I know each other from outside this conversation, and we sort of talked a little bit about. Yeah, I think the big challenges of professional athletes transitioning from their professional athletic career to what comes next. When you did make that decision, did you see clearly in front of you? Did you feel excited, like, oh, okay, this is what I want to do next? I see what's coming. Or was it like, okay, that's done, but what am I supposed to do now? Like, I'm not prepared for this. How did you experience that? And obviously it wasn't just one moment after that decision. It's a process of weeks and months.
Mm.
How did you experience that transition?
Oh, the transition was hard, very hard, and it still is, to be honest. Because I definitely did not experience things my peers at work experienced, and I think sometimes I think so. Yeah, I need them. It would be better if I have if I had the same experiences, but cannot turn back time. um, the decision to retire was a very spontaneous decision. When I came back from I returned from Rio, I had I think 2 or 3 months, no, 2 months off, and then I had to go to the German army because at that time I was a sports soldier until the end or middle of December, and then I went back into training, and it was like, yeah, what I'm doing here, what am I doing? So just go on with the same stuff like before, and it didn't feel the way it felt before. Of course, I was not that thrilled. I was not that into the whole process, but I had no other choice. It felt like because that was what I was used to do, and I tried to made some progress in my bachelor's studies. I started in 2014. I started but my bachelor's degree in clinical psychology, and it was always a side business. And yeah, and then in January 2017, I returned to the pool to the training, and in February the injury was diagnosed. In March I had the surgery, and again I had 6 months off until September. And in September 2017 I returned to again to the usual training every day, weight training, eating healthy, no partying and all this stuff, things I was used to. And again, it wasn't easy for me. It was like, yeah, I do not know what to do else, and I yeah, I visited all the classes. I tried to write some exams, and it was not. It was not good. I wasn't even motivated to um, to finish my bachelor's degree, and I was very demotivated, and because I had no perspective for myself, and I knew that I could not stay in the swimming bubble forever, and that I had to make a decision. But I always, at that time, I was like, yeah, I will make that decision tomorrow. Or maybe tomorrow. Next day, oh, the other tomorrow. And so the tomorrow always changed. And then in December, my boyfriend broke up with me. And it was, so my world fell completely together out. So I couldn't do anything. I was completely destroyed, exhausted, whatever. And I went out with a friend of mine. She was on my team, and she already, at that time, she already made the decision to retire. And we were sitting in a bar and we're drinking, and then she said to me, Doro, be honest to yourself. What are you doing there? You train like shit. There is nothing you want to or you can do to be better because you are not motivated. What are you doing? Are you sure that you want to go on with that? And I said, no, I don't want to do that any longer. And then she said, then leave. And I said, yeah, you're right. I will leave. And then she said, okay, so let's talk about this tomorrow with a clear head. And on Sunday, we again met for coffee. And we made a plan. She helped me. And the plan was that I will do that for 4 more weeks until we have a special team event. And it was also in Essen. And after that, I will have 2 weeks for my exams, and then I will start an internship for six weeks, and then the next semester will start. So I had these events, and I had a very tight shift from swimming into my studies in business. That was very good, and yeah, it worked out. I trained for 4 more weeks. I swam my last competition. I had two very good weeks with exams because I was very focused. I had an amazing first internship. I'm still very close to my first manager who managed me there. And after that, that didn't end with the internship. I went. They asked me if I want to be a working student, and I worked there for another year. So, and then I went into this normal life. I visited classes. I had this working student job. I went to the training twice a week, or maybe 3, 4 times, whatever. It depended on how I felt. I restarted doing yoga and some running, and yeah, it was not easy to leave all this the other life or to change this kind of structure because in high performance sport we have more structure than in normal life, even if you build yourself a structure, because I think the purpose is different. So this is what I experience at the moment, even if I make plans for the day or for the week, and I still do that. Either way, it's different because back in the years when I used to be a high performance athlete, it was always easier to follow that because I had this purpose. It was Olympic Games and swimming fast and being the first. And now it's I think a bit hard to say that it's only me. And if I do not do my My for example, if I do not take my nutritions, my supplements, it's okay. Yeah, nothing happens.
Hmm.
Yeah, if I do not do my face routine at night, nothing happens. Yeah, but and that was a bit different. So, but it was a very good decision, and maybe I made it a bit too late. But by making it that late, I had the time to fully recover after the after the surgery, and I had time to figure out what I want. Yeah, and it was yeah, it was. And as I said, it was a hard. It was hard. Because also I was also 33, I think, or 34, nearly 34. Yes, and that was not easy. Yeah.
I see some parallels that I think it's a human thing, no matter if it's in sports or in companies, which is that unfortunately very few managers, organizations, coaches are not only interested in getting the results out of people for the thing that they have been given as a target. And so a swimming coach has a target from, in a sense, from the government or the national sports team to make swimmers very competitive and to achieve results. And you'll know. And I mean, I think everyone knows if you're in a company and you're in a certain team or a certain department, the senior or the managers, the team leaders, the senior executives have been given a target, which is to launch this software, to do this service, to whatever it may be. And too often, we're very good at when we're given something we need to achieve to forget that there's sort of a very complex set of human beings in front of us and to think beyond the thing that we need to achieve. So, in the sense of athletes, one day will not be athletes anymore. So, having a process whereby you're sort of already upskilling them or already whatever it could be, putting them into that world and taking them out or accompanying them in terms of once you finish your professional sports career, if you're going to the business world, by the way, you'll have this gap because everyone else will have done this during these years while you were doing your professional sports, and just be aware of it, sort of, and prepare for it. And in big companies, unfortunately, that's my experience, we don't invest much into upskilling employees. We don't invest much into thinking, well, someone who started 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if they were to lose their job today and needed to look for another job, they would be missing a set of skills, which probably has to do with IT, technology, AI, whatever, communication. And we don't invest because it doesn't serve our purpose as a leader or as a manager. And so I sort of see parallels there where, unfortunately, when we as leaders or coaches, when we're given an objective, we forget. And the best ones to me, and I don't know if you've had many coaches as well, now you've got managers, right? You've had a few managers. The best ones for me are the ones who on the one hand are very much focused on delivering, and on the other side have a human side about them, which is like, well, it's really not just about the company, it's also about you, your own development, your own humanity, your own wishes, and where you want to go in the future. um, did you experience that with your fellow athletes, other athletes that that really there is that gap in how do you transition outside of a professional career
Mhm.
to what comes next? Or did you see areas which were maybe people that were better prepared, or areas which were better and some that were worse? What was your experience there?
I wouldn't say that I was not well prepared for this change in my life. I was very afraid to make this decision. And so in Germany, we have people who support us during our sports career to prepare this transition. And it's an offer. You're not forced to go there. But of course, there are some disciplines or kinds of sports where you definitely have to do that. And in swimming, everyone knows that there is a life after swimming and that you have to be prepared for that life. And denying this is, I think, a lack of taking over the responsibility for life. And especially coaches, they have to tell athletes, this is not everything. You need some time, or you should invest some time in the preparation of your future, because you cannot do that forever. And if they are not doing it, they are not responsible, because they have their own career, and they have several careers with several athletes. But the athlete has only one career, and that's the difference. And my coach, so I mentioned him earlier, my weightlifting, or my weight coach, weight training coach. He kind of forced me to start my bachelor's degree, and to go into the direction. And at some point, he always highlighted the importance and always flagged that I need to do something. And it was, yeah, as I said, it was pretty hard. So the bachelor, when I finished my bachelor's degree, I was like, whew, now you're allowed to work. This is the first step. And in psychology, you have to, because, yeah, of course, a bachelor is a qualification, the first qualification, and you're allowed kind of to enter the corporate world. And but in psychology, you have to do a master's degree, because everyone is doing it. Let's say it like this. And I did my master's degree part time, and that was one of the best decisions I made so far, because it gave me the possibility to work and to learn, and for 2 years. And that was very good for me, because I did not want to lose 2 more years for a master's degree. And at the moment also, and this is where I a bit of disagree with what you said earlier. I think it's not, because now I come to the corporate world and to managers, how they
Hmm.
develop their employees. Um, I think, yes, it should be an important part of managers, or of their role, to develop their employees. Definitely, this is where I agree. Do I agree in developing them, like, for if they lose their job, they find another job? No, definitely not. It's not the responsibility for a company to develop someone that if he or she loses his or her job, that she will find another one. So a company will only develop an employee in its own interest. So if my role needs a specific or qualification, um, I yeah, they will ask me to do some courses or so. And this is but if I leave the company, I'm on my own. And then I'm back into the same situation I was when I was an athlete. Because, yes, I had people who supported me, but finding a job and deciding what I want to do and what I need to learn, this is what was in my own responsibility. And but there is another point I would like to mention, because that's kind of interesting. Um, it's I think it's the most important thing companies can do at the moment is developing their employees for roles and tasks they have to do in a few years, not only today. That means that you have to anticipate the change in roles and tasks, and that's very, very difficult, because you have to, for doing that, for defining what will employees of my company need in 3 or 5 years, You have to discuss with people from the corporate world. You have to look at certain trends. So, for example, nobody would have ever imagined the impact of ChatGPT. Yeah, 4 years ago, not 2 years ago, four. Okay, nobody. Today we discussing jobs like prompt engineers. So nobody knows where this is going to. And if I didn't inform myself what this position or this job is, or how I write the perfect prompt, I would not be up to date. And then I would struggle if I need a new job. Does it make sense for you?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I understand your point. I think, for me at least, there's a real risk in, and maybe the way that I expressed it was not entirely accurate, but there's a real risk in separating, in some way, corporate life to social
Mm,
life. I think we see the consequences of that in, the climate crisis, the social justice issues that we have when we separate organizations as being just these profit making things that have responsibility towards shareholders and making reports on carbon emissions, and we actually give a financial value to the environment as opposed to rethinking the fact that this relationship that we have with the environment is fundamental to our own
yeah,
existence. It's not something that has a monetary value that we can really trade. I think when we make that separation and keep corporations over there as this own thing, which is made to make money, and they only have a responsibility, which is that, we see the consequences that it leads to. I think what I mean by, upskilling people so that they can get another job is exactly the point that you just made, but with a different set of words, in the sense that if I keep my people current in my organization with the things that are going on, and I upskill them in agile methodologies, or it doesn't matter, right? Even if I'm not going to use them right away in my company,
mm,
but that's what is on the market. That's what, most organizations are trying to use, right or wrongly. But if you do that, you put your own company in a position to be more resilient as things change.
yeah,
But at the same time, and maybe that's an indirect consequence from the point of view of the company, at the same time, you're giving the person a set of tools that if they were to lose their job, that they also can offer that within the market. We also seem to see that, and I'm not saying this based on any official statistics, so someone can tell me that I'm wrong, but we see younger people who, basically want to work in flat organizations with less hierarchy within those organizations, but they still want promotions and they still want salary, increases. And the way that they tend to do that is to move between flat
yeah,
organizations, so from one flat organization to another within like 2 to 4 years. And in a way, going forward, every organization needs to train their people knowing that a percentage are going to leave, but a percentage is going to come from other organizations that train certain people, and
yeah,
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 and those are going
yeah.
to
Okay.
come. And what I see, because I work with, yeah, like large transformations, digital
Mm,
transformations with people who tend to be in their, let's say, late 40s, 50s to 60s, is that they were not trained, a lot of them, for the last 15 years on anything that we
yeah,
use today in terms of tools, methodologies. And that's a huge gap. And that's an issue that we have then within companies, but then it's a personal issue. They're very afraid that if they lose their jobs, they are not in a position to find something else at their age, which will be, and then it becomes a societal problem, which will affect all of us. If a lot of people don't have work, even if you give them a basic income, people need something to do. Like, that's just part of being human. It may sound cool to do nothing and have money, but at some point, 2 or 3 months or 1 year, psychologically, yeah, we just can't not have something to do. So
yeah,
yes, I agree with you. At the same time, I personally want to see more of a connection and sort of this relationship, corporate to social world.
yeah.
But I completely understand your point.
What is interesting, and I think this is the point where we agree, if people lose their jobs inside of the organization, then yes, I agree, it's the responsibility of the organization to develop or to teach these people and to prepare them for another role, for a different role. Not outside, but inside definitely. And yes, people or young people use changes or different jobs to for increasing the salary, and maybe you're working on different hierarchy levels. I think that's fair. So it's always a gamble for companies if you have good trainings, if you have good education, if you have good development, learning and development environment for your employees, if that they leave and then you have a well educated employee and he's going somewhere else, but it's also the chance that they stay or that you can win such an employee for yourself, and that you can hire such a highly educated person. And I also agree in what you said, that corporates should be more aware and more responsible for all the future tasks which are coming. And this is, I think, something where the corporate world needs to do something in the next years, because otherwise people are not only leaving jobs, they will try to do everything on their own, and which means that they will maybe start their own businesses, for example, or they will. We're in Germany. They will move from Germany to other countries. So chances are very big, or we're broad, yeah, broad chance kind of for this. But it's interesting. This is,
Especially, I think, for large organizations, companies that have been around for 50, 60, or 100 years, that have very complex, sometimes outdated IT infrastructures, and the people who built them no longer work there. And innovation becomes difficult in those environments because of processes and ways of working. People will look for other environments, and companies that have been around for 2 or 4 years are using the latest technology from the
yeah,
beginning. Um, and that's a huge advantage that they have over the very large companies. It depends in which area, of course. Some of the big companies, supply chain, let's say, is what drives them, and until someone comes and disrupts the supply chain, maybe they'll stay around for longer. But there's a lot, and we have to remember that there's a whole generation of people who we need on the workforce and who did not grow up with this technology in their hands as a habit. And from a societal perspective as well, but also from, I think, going forward, we don't have enough people for the amount of places that are going to open up or are opening up within organizations. So we still need the people that are there to stick around, and we need to support them in taking on roles which fit to the knowledge and the skills that they have. I think one of the complaints from the people that I know that I look up to as mentors is that we sort of eliminated the middle management layer of people with 10, 15 years experience for, yeah, I'm sorry to say, but for freshly graduated MBA students from large consulting companies who can do spreadsheets and who can do fast calculations. But when you lose 15 years of knowledge of your business, of people who have been there, who know, they know the insides of it, they understand it viscerally, you do lose a huge ability within your organization to be resilient and to change in a way which fits within the type of company that you have. So I'm nothing against people who go, do MBAs and work for large consulting firms, but we still need to find a way to take the people who have been there and who know the business and who know the company and match them, yeah, in a better way with those who know the latest technology, who are maybe more data focused and so on, to get the best out of both worlds as much as we can. So it'll be interesting to see. Well, the next years, obviously, I think we all have some hopes, but also some concerns as to where things may be going at a global scale. More at a personal level for you, what are your hopes? Where would you like to see yourself, and what you're doing, or what you would like to do in the future in the next, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years?
Phew. Yeah, I know. Normally, I should be able to answer that question um, directly, but so in the short term, I have my MBA, as you mentioned before. Uh, yeah, I have only 4 months or 6 months to go, something like that, and this is yeah, as I said, the short term goal. And after that, I planned for myself period to yeah, period of orientation and figuring out what I want, where I want to go next. So at the moment, I'm not that. I have no fixed plan for the next 5 years, because at the moment I do not have the capacity to figure out um, where I can go with this MBA and where I want to go. And this is why I planned some time for myself to figure this out. It's yeah, 3 to 4 months, and then there should be a plan. This is my understanding of this. Yeah, I can tell you in the end of the year what my next steps will be. But so what I figured out in the last years is very important for me is that I want to live a life where I have not yes, of course, a job that fulfills me. That doesn't mean that it always has to be good. There, I know that there will be days, or that there are days where you think, so no, I don't want to do that. But if they take over, you should leave, of course. But yeah, I want to have a job where I have a good team and good tasks, and this is important for me. But I also want to have enough time for my friends, for my social life, my family, and also for myself, because I'm a person who needs time for yeah, self care time. And so I don't know if maybe my academic career will end with the MBA. So I think I will also figure this out. And yeah, I have an idea for a small business, and I'm writing my thesis about this. So maybe this will also be a big part after my MBA of my life. But that's yeah, let's see.
For viewers and listeners, then stay tuned, potentially for another conversation between you and I in the future about your business, if indeed that's the direction that you end up going, or in any case, in 6 months, a year from now, to share with us where your journey has led you. I like to ask a couple of questions to all my guests before we end our conversation. One of them I think is very relevant, at least for me, in the times that we live today, which feels to be filled with a lot of polarization and anxiety and separation between people and countries. And there's an intensity to the world at the moment, which I hope that all of us together will come through and find a way to have an intensity around our shared humanity together going forward. So I'd like to ask, what do you think we could do as a human species to be better, kinder, more compassionate, more inclusive, more just?
Ooh. That's huge. The first part is definitely listen. Listen to what the other person is saying. And if you're not sure, please ask. This is the first thing I would say. The second thing is always consider that it's about perspective and perception, and they differ very, very strong. Um, yeah, this is, I think, very important. And the third part is that yeah, just collaborate based on the listening and the perception and perspective thing. Collaborate, find a solution. At the end of the day, we are all on the same planet and we have to deal with each other. Please start collaborating. Yeah, and that doesn't mean that you shift apart, because I think that is not possible at the moment. You have to do things together. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I do feel that sports can play an important role also in bringing people together and helping them to
Yeah.
share and collaborate based on also the experience that you shared with your team and how that yeah gave you a sense of connection and identity. So I hope also that we will see more and more children. Okay, we live in an age of social media and internet and YouTube, and podcasts obviously, but I hope that sports, yeah, and seeing more people from diverse backgrounds and diverse contexts being together in an environment which is healthy for them will also set some good seeds for the future for us to be able to share those perspectives, as you said, in a way which in which we listen and we try to understand one another before we react maybe on the emotions that we feel when we hear those perspectives. And my goal with this channel and this podcast is to talk to as many different people as possible to try to understand why it is the way we think as human beings. Is there anyone or any ones that you think I should talk to who would be really interesting to hear their life experience, their journey, or their perspective?
Mhm. Um, can you maybe please specify that a bit more for me? Like, I have.
Well, I really like some of the guests that I spoke to. They're like, "Oh, I was just reading this book from this person," or "Lately, I've been interested in this topic, and you should talk to
Yeah,
so and
yeah,
so."
yeah. Okay. So, but
Is there anyone that comes
okay,
to
yeah.
mind that you're interested in or that you know?
No, no, not at the moment, not spontaneously, but maybe an age group. Maybe you should talk to a teenager or someone who just entered the corporate world, 24, 25-year old
Hmm.
um, new joiner of a big company, because I think that can be a perspective which will be very interesting. And
That's a fair
yeah,
point.
this for example,
Thank you for
I
that. I'll
will let you
see
know.
if I can in the future.
I will let you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a fair point. Also, my network tends to be in their 40s to 50s. Let's put it that way. So it's a really good idea to have a guest at some point, which is who is entering or seeing things from the perspective of just entering the corporate world, for example. So thanks for that. If you think of someone, then do let me know. Where can people find you? Do you have social media or anywhere that people can follow you or find you or
Yes, I have social media. So Instagram, it's my full name, very easy, and also LinkedIn, also my full name. And yeah, looking forward to connect to you. Send me a message on Instagram if you would like to follow, because my profile at the moment is private, and LinkedIn, of course, is much more simple. You just add someone or request someone.
I will link to both of those in the description of this YouTube episode. And yeah, basically, it was a great conversation. Thank you for your openness. I really hope that it'll resonate with a lot of people. You were very transparent about your experience as an athlete and as a person. And I think that's really, really relevant for a lot of people, for parents, but also for their children, also for the corporate world, to maybe just make that whole sports performance thing a little bit more human, compared to how we paint the picture, like when we try and motivate our teams and we hire, these speakers who are coaches, and that, nothing wrong with that, but I think you've helped to make it just a bit more, um, let's say, complex, or at least a bit more connected to all the aspects which have to do with the life of a professional athlete. It's been a pleasure to talk with you, Doro, and wish you all the best. And maybe, yeah, in a year or something, we'll find a chance and have another conversation and see where you're at.
Thanks, Eric. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you.